Hi Year 10, this is Mrs Enstone and I am going to talk you through lesson 2 of your GCSE English Language Speaking and Listening Assessment. And as we explained in lesson 1, this is a non-examination assessment for your GCSE, so it's a requirement and you will be giving this speech under assessment conditions once we get back into school. So for today, your learning objective is why is it important to choose a good topic? So wherever you're taking your notes, whether you are using your English book or typing them up somewhere, go ahead and write that for me. Okay, so our do now task is one to get you thinking about how many different ideas you need to generate for a speech. You will need to be speaking continuously on your topic for 5 minutes, and that's a really long period of time. And so you're going to need to have a lot to say about your topic. So the do now task is this. Imagine you have been asked to write a speech about the food provided in the school canteen. You need to speak for 5 minutes. On average, you can explain 2 things in 1 minute. So you're going to need 10 different things to say about the food in the school canteen. And then I want you to just number 1 to 10 for me, and you're going to pause the video and come up with 10 different things that you could have said in a speech about the food in our school canteen. So pause the video now and come up with your 10 things. Okay, so you should have written a list of 10 things, and I want you to have a quick look at those now, and I want you to ask yourself, would you be able to speak about those things for a long period of time? So if, for example, one of your 10 things was the food in the school canteen is too expensive, what would you be saying about that in your speech? Other than to tell your audience the food in the school canteen is too expensive, and then maybe to give an example. I don't know, the paninis are £2, or whatever the example is. What else would you be saying? Because I want you to listen now as I say those 2 things, and on my counter up here I'm going to tell you how long it took me to say them. So, all right, pretend I'm doing my speech. Right, the first thing that I want to say about the food in the school canteen is it's too expensive. For example, the main meal costs £4. and the paninis cost £2 each. No one has that amount of money to spend every single day. All right, how long do you reckon it took me to say that? 13 seconds. And we have 5 minutes to fill for this speaking assessment, which is why it's really important that you choose a good topic and you have a lot to say about that topic. Now, in a minute, we're going to look at maybe why choosing to do a speech on the food in the school canteen would not be a good idea at all, and we're going to talk about why that is. But for now, I want you to look and listen at some other speeches. So I'm not going to do the whole of the next task with you because you guys are totally capable of doing that yourself, but we're going to look at some speech examples from a speaking competition which you guys might have heard of, because you might have participated in the Jack Petchey Speak Out in Year 9 and heard of it in Year 10 as well. So I've got 3 speech links for you here, and in this table here you are going to write down what the topic of the person's speech was, and then what that person does, in your opinion, to make their speech interesting. Now, I don't want your opinion to be that their speech wasn't interesting, because these are all competition winners, and so their speeches are going to be interesting and good. You need to work out what it is about them that makes it interesting. Right, we're going to watch the first little bit of the first speech together.
So, we are now on to our sixth speaker this evening. He wishes to be remembered.
Okay, so just as this guy's giving the introduction, remember you're writing down what is the topic of the speech and how do they make it interesting as we watch the first minute or so. Okay, so the topic of Najeh's speech is sleep. What did he do that made the opening of his speech really interesting? All right, I'm giving you a hint now as I'm moving and gesturing with my hands. He used gesture to the audience to highlight some of the things that he was saying. He also used some persuasive techniques, which we will be revising as we go through this unit, but you will have done something with as you were doing your non-fiction writing earlier in this year. So we are asking you to watch the two next speeches by yourself, and this is a really good example for you of teenagers giving speeches in the way that you're going to have to give a speech. Actually, all of these speeches are around the same time limit that you have. They're around 5 minutes, so that's really useful for you to bear in mind. So again, you're going to need to pause this video, watch Najeh's speech. If you want to watch the rest of it, that's great. Watch the two following speeches by Erin Stoner and Holly Taylor. Write down what their topics are, and then have a look at what they do to make their speeches interesting. So, off you go. Okay, this final task that we're asking you to do today is about thinking carefully about what topics are good and what topics are not good to choose as your speech. So the exam board have given us really clear advice about how to select good topics. And this is what they said. Firstly, candidates should avoid selecting topics that are purely factual. This is because if you've got a topic that's purely factual, say you're really interested in something in history and you just want to explain that thing to us, all you're doing is sharing facts. And that means that you can't meet some of the criteria to get the higher passes in the speaking and listening. The topic itself needs to include a challenging idea, topics where different opinions are held and one side can be argued are encouraged. And these are the best sort of topics to choose. These are the topics where you might have an opinion that's different from someone else's and you can argue both sides, or you might be interested in the different opinions on a topic and you can show both of them. So they are controversial topics, or ones where there's a lot of debate about what is right and what is wrong. Those are the ones that you want to be thinking of choosing. So using this advice, not purely factual, contains a challenging idea and something where there are different opinions, I want you to look at the list of speech topics on the next slide, and I want you to consider whether you can give them a score from 1 to 5. 1 is a really bad speech topic using the advice that I've set. 5 would be a really great idea because it is really full of really challenging ideas, has lots of different opinions. So let's have a look at them. Okay, so the first one, why Britain should bring back the death penalty. Okay, so if this was a bad speech idea, it would be something that's just factual. It would be something that doesn't have any difficult or challenging ideas in it, and it would be something where everyone agrees. If it's a good speech idea, it wouldn't just have facts, it would also have lots of opinions. It would be something that's really challenging to think about and understand, and it would have something to where people would agree or disagree with different parts. So you need to decide, is it a bad speech idea or a good speech idea? All right, the second one, the Emmy Award winners 2019. All right, so I want to ask you to ask yourself, is this purely factual? Does it seem to contain a challenging idea? Are there different opinions on this topic? Cyberbullies should be suspended from school. Everything I have learnt about the Cold War in history. Remember, is it a challenging idea? Is it purely factual? Are there lots of different opinions? Why junk food isn't as bad as everyone thinks. Conspiracy theories and why we should believe them. My holiday in France in 2019. Every family should have a pet. All right, so I think you probably got the idea, but let me talk you through them really quickly. The Emmy Award winners 2019, everything I've learnt about the Cold War in history, my holiday in France in 2019. Those are 3 topics that on the surface of it sound like they are purely factual and don't have anything in them where there's going to be a debate, where there's going to be different opinions that you can argue. So those would not be good debate topics to choose. If Britain should bring back the death penalty is something that's debated in politics pretty regularly, and the fact that we haven't decided what we think once and for all means that there are lots of different opinions. Should cyberbullies be suspended from school? That could be debated. Why junk food isn't as bad as everyone thinks? Again, that's something where lots of different people are going to have lots of different opinions. Conspiracy theories, well, that's opinions and different opinions and controversial ideas to begin with and why we should believe them. So that's going to be someone who's making a counter argument to what most people think. Every family should have a pet. Again, there's going to be different opinions about that. So this is the sort of area that we're looking for you to choose your topic from. But it needs to be something that's interesting to you, something that's personal to you, and that's one of the requirements, that there's a personal engagement with the topic. So you don't have to choose your topic today, but we are going to want you to start thinking about it over the next few lessons. As we look at more things to do with speaking and listening, you're going to need to create a clearer idea about what your own speech will be about. All right, thank you very much. Make sure you send your work in to your English teacher. If you've got any questions, email them, unless you're in my class.